and welcome to the Preservice Teacher Pals podcast, brought to you by UTS Ed Soc. My name is Adelaide and I'm the president of UTS Ed Soc.
And hi, my name is Ning and I'm the event coordinator of UTS Ed Soc. We are both pre-service teachers studying a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Education, majoring in primary school teaching.
As a society, we wanted to create a podcast that aims to engage and create discussions on how to assist pre-service teachers on their teaching journey. We thought there was no better way than having some of our teaching pals come on here and tell us all about their experience launching their teaching career.
We're here to answer all your burning questions and open a discussion on everything about education.
Today we are joined by the infamous Miss Isabel Rankin, famous for her Rainbow Classroom, stamp collection and amazing resources.
She's currently teaching a Year 5 class and has over 17,000 followers on her teacher Instagram page, Teach.With.Heart. She is a UTS alumni and was also the founder of UTS Ed Soc.
She's come a long way from her days at UTS, and we are so lucky to have her join us in our first episode of this series. Please welcome Teach.With.Heart.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
So to kick things off, how have you been enjoying your lockdown school holiday period?
I was lucky that I had a holiday week before the lockdown happened, so I got to go over to the Hunter Valley, which was good. But since then, been just getting things ready for school and just watching a lot of Netflix and Stan, so I haven't really been doing that much, if I'm honest. But it's been really nice just to relax.
That's really nice. So one of the questions was, what has been your teaching journey so far? So giving us a recap of how it all started, maybe starting from after you graduated.
Yeah, so when I finished uni, I went for my interview with the Department of Education. I didn't hear anything back from that, which was a bit disappointing because, as you know, it's such a build up when you're at uni. I didn't hear anything back, and it was half to do with because I did honours and our results didn't come out in time, so it didn't get released to the department. So technically I hadn't finished until about March the next year. So I started a temporary role in a Catholic school, which I really loved there. I was on a Year 3 class, and then in about halfway through term 2, I got offered a graduate position at a public school, which I took, and that was on my Year 5 class, which I stayed there for 2 terms, but unfortunately I didn't actually enjoy working at that school. It was very behavioural. I had a hard time with it. It was very demanding. So I ended up being bit down because I was like, I knew I really enjoyed my last school, and then when I got the permanent job I wasn't enjoying it as much because it wasn't the same environment. And then I was lucky that I got reached out by on LinkedIn from my current school, and they offered me a permanent job there, which was awesome, just on LinkedIn. So make sure you get a LinkedIn page, and that's a private school in the Hills District, and I'm loving it. It's perfect. Yeah. So I've worked in all 3 sectors in only like a year and a half, which seems crazy, but I was just lucky, then unlucky, then lucky again. So it's all worked out now.
Wow, what a crazy ride within your first 2 years of teaching. Congratulations on permanency. That's incredible. I know quite a few teachers struggle to obtain a permanency within their first and even 5th year of teaching, so you're very lucky.
Yeah, I was lucky that I got offered permanency twice, like at the public school and then now at my current school. But I would definitely tell everyone that it's not everything. Like, don't just write down every school on the list, because you've got to be picky, because if they offer it to you and you really aren't sure about it, then you're stuck there for 3 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
While you were at UTS, you also received the Laurie Brady Award, so congratulations on that. How did you go about, was there an application process? How did you get chosen with the award?
I have it right here with me. I found it when I saw
the question.
Didn't get it. But I think it was mainly to do with your tertiary supervisor. So I feel like being really good in like a lot of communication, asking a lot of questions, looking very keen probably really helps as well. And I know, is Anne and Warren Poole still there as well?
Yeah.
Uni? Yeah, I feel like they've got a lot of pool of who gets picked in that. So making yourself known to them, maybe. It's unfortunately a little bit about who you know and how you get there. I think it's a little bit of combination between your Prac reports and your results at uni, and then as well as just getting involved with things. So I think that's about it. But otherwise, there's no real tips. I think all the people that were like nominated were people that had like asked a lot of questions and been quite involved at uni. So I think that would be one of the things to do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good tip. Good tip. So do you feel uni prepared you enough for your first year out as a teacher?
Yeah, I think they did with the programming. Like, programming's right on point. That's pretty much how it is. You probably don't put as much planning as you do into a uni as you do when you actually start teaching. The only thing they probably didn't prepare us for that much was behaviour management. Like, I think that's something that most of us are going to struggle with in our time teaching, because there's always at least, one kid that's going to, rive our bubbles a little bit. But that's probably something you've got to learn when you're there, and you've got to find your own strategies to deal with that, and you'll be able to do it. Yeah. But programming side, uni definitely prepared us, and all the pracs we did, definitely a lot of experience. So after that last prac, you just feel ready to start.
That's great. And so what would you say, like, what was your placement experience? Do you have any tips? What to do, what not to do?
Yeah, my prac experience, I feel like I finally knuckled it down on my last prac, but I did download a prac planner thing, but I only wrote in it the lessons that I was teaching, just to keep myself organized. I feel like if you try to know everything that's happening in the classroom, it's a bit too much. But like, just preparing for your lessons in particular, and then when you start teaching the whole day, going off the teachers' programs, don't try to invent something new. Just stick with what they're doing, even though they say, like, oh, it's the time to test out what you want to do. That's not really the time to test it out. The time to test it out is when you're in your own classroom. I feel like sticking to what the class is used to is just going to help you get through it so much easier, and stop wasting so much time trying to bring, other things in. When that teacher, she's been chosen for a reason. She knows her stuff. She's got all this wealth of knowledge, and you should really try out their stuff, because you might end up using some of that stuff in your own classroom. That's
Those teacher planners are pretty good. I think me and Addie, we also use them for our pracs, and they were pretty much lifesavers for us as well.
Yeah, I think that's the only time I've ever used a planner, when I was on Prac, and then when I started teaching, I just kind of, got rid of that. But that's just who I am. Some people are really planners, so that's good.
So on that, what do you use to say plan your lessons or program?
So I tried to start off with a teacher planner, but honestly, school never goes to plan, and sometimes you plan all these things in your teacher planner, and then it goes out the window because they give you, oh, there's assembly here, there's book week parade, there's something else, and you just get thrown out of that. I found the best thing to help me was making your timetable and sticking to it. So I make my timetable for my class just like a high school timetable kind of thing, so I know what lessons I'm teaching. And then I get my programs and I just match it up to the week and the lesson. And I find that helps, because otherwise you're writing stuff that you've already written in your program into your teacher planner. And I feel like that takes a long time. And just to remember things, I have a notepad or something with the days of the week, and I just write anything special that's happening that day on there. But you'll find the school will give you so many timetables. They'll give you, your playground duty, your release, your everything else, and you've got all these timetables everywhere. And then trying to put that into a teacher plan is just hard to kind of organize it that way. Yeah,
that's a really good tip. I feel like I'm always trying to furiously write down things in my prac planners, so just keeping it simple and sticking to those timetables provided by the school.
Yeah, some people thrive on using the planners. I've had people that do that, but most teachers I know, you won't even see them with a planner. You might send them with a diary or a sticky note or something like that, because it's just, you're not going to carry around your planner all the time, and chances are you'll hear something, you just have to quickly write it down. But I've got half empty planners in my wardrobe here that I've never hardly used. But I think making a timetable, that's the first thing you've really got to do. You've got to knuckle down when you're teaching, your reading groups, maths, all of that, and then you just stick to your program and follow the lessons on the program, and it makes it easier.
So your casual teaching experience, how did you go about handing in resumes and interviews?
Getting casual lists? Yeah. I found if you download Class Cover, the schools kind of find you as well. Like that, and also off at your prac school's really good, really useful. I did my full think it was, can't even remember how many weeks it was now, but did the last big prac, and then they just kept offering me casual work there. And then I went to some Catholic schools and put in my Catholic number at a few of them, and they started calling me. And then the class covers mainly for department schools, so they just find you on class cover and literally add you, and you just start getting texts at like 5 a.m. So it'll kind of find you, I think. You don't really need to worry about that much. If you put yourself on class cover, the schools will definitely find you. They're always desperate for casuals, and they're going to find you. Yeah.
And so did you do a unit on Catholic education? I know that some schools you need to obtain like a Catholic accreditation before you work at a school.
You don't need it before you work there, but if you become a temporary teacher, then the school will say like, oh, you have 3 years to complete it, and it's a graduate diploma with ACU. It only takes 6 months to do. So if you really like it there, just do it, and then you've got it forever. But you don't need it to just start casual teaching or temporary teaching in a school. So I never actually got it because I left pretty quick, but I worked there right up until then. So you don't actually need it straight away. You don't need it before you start. So you can work in all the different schools. Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. And so what would you say your top like interview tips are?
Yeah, every time I've gone, they've said that like I was very confident, but I learnt when I was doing my honours at UTS, they told us if we talk with our hands, I know it's kind of a weird tip, but if you talk with your hands, you look more passionate about the subject. So even just trying to practice talking with your hands, it makes you like appear like you're confident and you're interested and you're really want to do it. So I've always done that, and talking a lot about building rapport with your students as well as being fair and consistent when it comes to behaviour management. They like all that kind of things. And also just being really confident, like you know your stuff. Don't feel like you don't, because any answer you come up with is better than sitting there going, I don't know, like I'm not really sure. Just make it up. Use your hands and you look like you know what you're talking about, which is good. And yeah, they've always been the feedback that if you smile and you look like really passionate, then they'll really enjoy it. So I went for an interview for every job I had, and that was always the feedback I got. They liked how passionate I looked like I was into it. And I know 100% that's down to my hand. Talking with your hands is definitely how you look passionate about something.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a really good tip actually. I didn't even think of kind of making use of our body language to show how confident we are. And yeah, usually twiddling my thumb down in the bottom while they're not watching. So that's a good tip. I'll definitely take that on board.
From uni actually told me that, because she said if you watch any TED talk, they'll all sit there talking with their hands, and it just makes you see how passionate they are about something when they start getting moving with it.
That's awesome. So as a teacher, I know there are times where things don't go as planned, but as an early career teacher, I think it's quite hard for us to get used to that. So is there any tips for you, tips for us for when things don't go as planned?
Well, you've just got to be very lighthearted about it and not get too strung up on your plan, because things are definitely going to change. I think like being flexible, not worrying about it, saying, oh, I'll do that later. It doesn't really matter. Just like if you come back from assembly late, maybe just changing it to something simpler that the kids might enjoy, even just playing a game, you've got to keep yourself happy and not get stressed as well. Like things will get done eventually. And if they don't, it's not the end of the world. Like if they miss a lesson of maths, you can just merge two together next time, or just briefly do a quick one. So you just got to be really flexible and know that, everything will get done eventually. That's how I like to go. Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. How about we talk a bit about your Instagram page? How did it start?
I actually just started it to enter giveaways, believe it or not. I saw all the giveaways. I didn't want to enter them on my personal page because you had to share the post onto your feed. I didn't want to do that on my other one. So I literally just started it to enter giveaways and just follow people and save posts. And then it just started growing once I started joining in giveaways and doing my own giveaways. And when I started taking pictures of my classroom, and the amazing thing is hashtags will get you so far. But I find like joining in giveaways and becoming friends with like some of the people that have lots of followers will get you a long way as well. Like the young educator shared me on her page, and that like really boosted me up, which was really nice of her. But I know that's really hard to do, but befriending me, you can always befriend me and I'll share you if you want to. I think hashtags have a lot of power too. I feel like the more hashtags you use, the more people are going to see you. But giveaways as well. People love giveaways.
It's always great to get free stuff, isn't it? And so you have an incredible classroom and resource bank. What inspired you to create all these amazing resources?
Well, it was probably all through Instagram. Like when I saw something I liked, I would save it. And then if I saw it on sale, I'd get it, or things like that. Lots of people gave me stuff as well. I was pretty lucky with that. I had a lot of people that were giving me things. My family it became my Christmas presents, my birthday presents, my everything presents. So that's how I built up so much stuff. But now I've moved to my new school, which is so full of resources. Half my things are still sitting in my room, so I've got to organize all of that. But I feel like depending on what school you're at depends on the resources you need. So I feel like you should wait until you're in your classroom to see what you do need, because I've got a lot of like caddies and things, but they're for like younger grades, and now I'm teaching year 5. They're kind of just sitting there. So don't waste your money yet. I think wait and see where you are and what you're doing, and then you'll be able to buy things from there. And you've got to actually see your space to see how much space you have to hang things up as well. Yeah, that'd be my hot tip with that one. Don't waste your money yet.
That's like music to my ears, honestly. What would you say is your top 3 resources or essential items needed in your first year of teaching?
That one probably, I use my behaviour management one every single day. My champ stamps, I use them. When my kids get 10 stamps, they get to spin the wheel. They really like that one. I use that resource every day. What else do I use? Probably like some kind of morning routine, whether if you're in infants, you're doing the date and things like that. If you're in the older grades, maybe some kind of like mindfulness activity. I'm in a Christian school now, so we do devotions in the morning, but any kind of resource that can help with that, or something you're going to use like every single day. Literacy group stuff never goes to waste. I feel like you've got to plan so much for your literacy groups, which is probably something they don't teach you much at uni, and something you have to do every day, and there's so much involved with that. So getting anything for literacy groups would be good, but once again, you need to know what grade you have to what you get. Like you go spending $60 on a literacy resource kit from the Young Educator or something, but then you might be on year 5 and 6 and that doesn't work. So you've got to wait and see where you're going to be. But if you know it covers like all grades, and that's really good. But literacy group stuff 100% will not go to waste.
Cool. And so what kind of inspired your like rainbow theme classroom? Was it just an aesthetic? Did you see it on Instagram?
Yeah, I saw a lot of them on Instagram. I follow a lot of American teachers, and that's just something that a lot of them do. I like seeing how clean and like simple their classrooms are, but I kind of made mine a bit more crazy. But I liked the rainbow a little bit better than the natural kind of theme, and I feel like anything bright makes me happy, so I've got to spend most of the time in there, so trying to make myself happy as well. Lots of people look at it and go, it's a bit of an overkill, but I think if it makes you happy, it's not a waste of time. So you've got to like choose what you're willing to do, and like, you know, you can teach with nothing. You can teach with no pretty things in the background. You can teach with like limited stuff, but it just depends what makes you happy and how much time and money you really want to spend on it is really the big thing.
No, I literally love looking at your classroom. Just opening up your page makes me so happy because it's so bright and colourful. It's just
thank you. It makes me happy too.
All right, so let's talk a bit about your classroom/teaching life. What does a typical day in your classroom look like?
Well, in my last 2 schools, I'll probably talk more about them because they're probably like more your normal kind of every day. You'd start off with your literacy groups, your English, your writing, that kind of thing. Then the middle would be like your maths, and then you might go on to a specialist. It might be PE or something like that. And then the end of the day could be like visual arts, geography, that kind of thing. At my new school, it works a little bit more like a high school because it's all put into groups, like ability groups. And I have a maths groups and the spelling group. So I spend English with my class and writing with my class and geography with my class. But then I also have a maths class and a spelling class. So they move around a little bit more like a high school. But that is only because I'm in year 5 and 6. It's more like a middle school.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting. So in a typical week, what time are you arriving at school? What time are you leaving? How many hours do you spend at school?
I'm sure if you talk to most other teachers, they're not going to say the same as me, but I'm a complete homebody. I like to get us home as quick as I can, and I get there pretty much as late as I can to be practical, but I get there at like around 8 o'clock. My school doesn't start till 8:30. I get there about 8 o'clock, and I actually always try to leave by 4:30. Otherwise, I'll just spend my whole night there and I'll never go home. So I'm a massive person about getting home and just using my RFF wisely and just using that time in the morning wisely and knowing that all my programs are already there. You don't need to plan that much. Yeah, it's not like Prac where you're like planning in the middle of the night for like the next day. You have all your programs done, and you get into such a routine with your kids that you start to plan less and less and less, and you just go in there with your program and your slides maybe, and you're done. Yeah, I have some friends that stay till like 5:36, but I just think, that's when school becomes your whole life, and your school can't be your whole life.
Okay, definitely. I think that will be something as a first year teacher will be a bit of a challenge, but something we want to strive for when we go into it.
Yeah, I feel like you go in there like really remembering it's a job and like not trying to put like your whole life into it, because I think that's what I struggled with the first term I was teaching. I was trying to make everything perfect. You've just got to realize that, it's better for your health for everything not to be perfect, and the kids still love you for it, so it doesn't really matter. The only time I'd probably stay a bit later is reports.
Awesome. I was actually wondering, do you have a teaching philosophy? If so, what would it be?
My teaching philosophy is all about the kids. I think you've got to do what's best for the kids, what's happening there. So trying to make them do real world and relevant things when they're learning. So to make their learning relevant to them. I love project-based learning. I'm all about that. My school that I'm in now is surrounded by project-based learning, and I just think that's one of the ways they really learn, doing their own projects, taking a bit of control, and then you just helping them along the way. That's probably would be my philosophy.
What has been the most challenging part of full-time teaching so far?
Probably my most challenging part would have been getting used to having 30 kids all in a room with just me, and like feeling that like pressure that you've got to be teaching perfectly all the time. I feel like that's where I've found most challenging. I feel like every lesson needs to be like the best lesson, picking and choosing which lessons, went well and what didn't go well, and being able to differentiate for your class when things don't go well, because sometimes you have all your programs done and you just want to stick to your programs because you spent so much time on them, and then the kids don't get it, so you've got to go and you've got to change all of that. I feel like that's probably something I've struggled with, and then knowing how much to change it. Like, do we need to go right back? Do we need to just go a little bit back and then do the same lesson again? Should we just repeat the whole lesson? I feel like that's where I've struggled, is in being so like a person who likes to be organised when I've done all my programs and all that, and I want to be teaching that, and when it's just not working for the class. So then readjusting your teaching, that's something hard.
And so you mentioned before your behaviour management tool of the stamps and the wheel.
Yes.
Do you have any other advice on behaviour management, the best strategies to use?
I think you've got to find what works for you. I've got heaps of people that use dojo points as well. They work really good. Having that traffic light system really works well, like the pegs, moving them across, or just even their names, just moving them across. I feel like you've got to find what works well and stick to it. I feel like when you get into your classroom, you need to make your own rules with your kids so they know 100% what the rules are, and you've got to stick to that with every single kid. So if they talk while someone else is talking, their name moves, you know what I mean? I feel like that's something that is hard to get used to, because sometimes you think, oh, it was just a little talk, it doesn't really matter. But if you don't stick to it with every single kid, then it doesn't become fair and consistent, and then you start noticing your ones that are a little bit more naughty are starting to notice that kids that maybe don't get in trouble as much getting away with things that they don't get away with. So you've got to be very consistent. So just finding what you want to do. A lot of people use that money as well, like doing money, like shop. So they can, if they get like all the money, and then they can save that up and buy like a prize or something like that. I think you just need to find what works for you in the classroom. I like my stamps. So I think it works well, especially with my, like I've only taught, my lowest grade was year 3, and it's worked perfectly for year 3, 5 and 6. So I think you just got to find what works for you and use it.
Definitely. So this is a question about intrinsic motivation. Is there a way you can develop it more within the kids?
With intrinsic motivation, I feel like it really comes down to like maturity. I feel like you're going to get that really hard with the little ones for them to want to do well for themselves. But I think you've just always got to remind them, like I always tell my class, this is what I'm giving you, but you've got to take it and like learn from it yourself. I can't make you know maths. You know, I always say that to them. I'm giving you the information, but it's up to you whether you're going to like use what I'm giving you to learn. Yeah, I think it's hard. You've just got to make them know that they want to do well for themselves, and they need to know what's good for them. They need to have their own personalized goals so they know what they're working towards and what's an achievement for them.
That's some great advice.
Yeah.
What role would you say technology plays in your classroom?
I've been lucky because I've been mainly in older grades. They have one-on-one computers, laptops, things like that. So that's been really good. I use a lot of Google Classroom. I find that really makes them want to do work sometimes when you make those pre-planned templates and they just work on them. But it also can work as a reward as well. Kids love Minecraft, they love coding, they love all of that. Maybe if you have set aside like a Friday afternoon saying like, this is when we're going to do Minecraft, we're going to relate it to our work somehow and do it that way. I feel like relating it to your work is a good way to do it, but also giving them free time to use it just to play around with just even making a PowerPoint, because you won't believe how much they struggle with just making a PowerPoint. So you need as much time as you can on the computer so they can learn how to use it. Yeah.
Definitely. So one of the biggest things about in teaching is like differentiation. So what is the most useful strategy to differentiate learning in your classroom?
I like to use 3 stars. I know you've probably seen it before, but I like to give the students all of the questions. I don't like it when I'm seeing teachers, they've gone, this is your work, this is your work, this is your work. I feel like you need to have all the levels available to all the students, because you just don't know how they're going to go with each lesson. So I always try to make it like, so there's a lower level where they're meant to be, and then like an extension, and I usually display it on the board what they have to do, like the task, and then I usually give them a level to start at. So if they're a 1-star student, I might say you start at 1 star. Or one thing that I've done with my maths class is they have to, or everyone has to start at 1 and then they work up. Because even those students that need extending, they can still do the 1 star and just do it really quick and get to the extension work. So I found that that's something that has really helped me do it. But I feel like when you've got those really low ones, then you need to start making individual work for them. But if it's just general differentiation within your class, making those levels really helps.
That's really good advice. I'll definitely take that on board.
I'm happy to share any of my stuff as well. So if you ever want to see an example, I'll happy to share it all. So
Oh, definitely. Yeah. If we can't find it on Instagram, definitely please show us whenever you can.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the biggest things is communicating with parents. Do you have any tricks and tips for that?
I do, mainly because I'm in a big private school now, so they're paying a lot of money to send their kids there. But I feel like only communicating during school hours is a big one. If they email you at night, don't reply. You wait till the next day when you get to school, because if you start emailing them at all hours of the night, unless it's something really, really important, they'll just take advantage of that and you'll have no life. You'll be sitting there on the lounge replying to emails. Always talking in the best interest of the child without like taking a side, especially if it's an argument between students or things like that. Always bring it back to that you want to do what's in the best interest of the child, and you've got to, be fair to all students and make sure you hear every side of the story. You've got to be that Switzerland person that doesn't take a side, and it is quite hard because being a young person, they'll always think you don't know because you don't have kids, but you've got to make sure that you understand what it's like. You know, if you were a parent, you'd be exactly the same, and making sure that they know that.
That's some great advice, because you don't really get to talk to parents when you're on placement and have that opportunity to engage with them.
And so let's talk EdSoc for a bit. You were one of the founders.
And I was wondering what inspired you to create the Education Society and how you went about doing that.
Yeah, so when I was in my third year at uni, I was getting kind of sick of that there wasn't a ball for education. There was a ball for everything else, but not for education. We didn't have a society. We didn't have any fun activities. We didn't have a pub crawl, anything like that. And I really like to be social, so I found that really hard. And then I went to Activate UTS and found out that 2 other people had already contacted them about it as well, and that was Steph Schilling and Charlotte Bibb. And then we all met up for the first time. We didn't know each other, didn't even know each other from bar of soap at that point, and we just all met up, and we had to quickly create a logo in like a day and like submit everything in like a day. So it was a really quick process. Some things we might have even gone back and changed now if we had time, but it had to be so quick. And then once we did it, we had to get 7 people to join. And then once we had our 7 people, we were officially a society, and it just led on from there, which was really good. Yeah, but without those other 2 girls, I definitely wouldn't have done it, because I don't think I would have had the motivation to do it without someone else being there going, you know, we need to do it. So it was really good to have those 2 there with me.
That's awesome. Thank you for making EdSoc for what it is today. I love how we got this chance to be able to have a platform to help pre-service teachers this way. So
yeah, I really love that it's still going. I was so scared that once all the founders left, that it was just gonna go. But now I'm really happy that you guys are doing it, and you're doing an amazing job. I look at everything that you guys do and I'm like, wow, they're really taking it to the next level. So that's really awesome.
Oh, that's really great to hear.
thank you. So talking a bit about a very important topic, mental health. What are some strategies you find helpful to take care of your own mental health?
I always try to make sure that my weekends are my weekends. I might spend Sunday night getting ready for the week, but I feel like making sure that you have a weekend and having a break, switching off, going out with your friends, hanging out with your family, it's like really important, you know, having breaks, making sure you still give yourself that time to watch your favorite TV show or something like that. It's really important. Going out for walks. I always walk my dog in the afternoon. I always make sure I get home so it's not dark, so I can walk my dog. And I always think that having breaks and switching off, trying not to always think and talk about school was one of the hardest things I found. Like my family would get sick of me coming home talking about school all the time. So you're just going to make sure that it's not doesn't become your whole life. I think if you've got a hobby, you're really going to do well. But like I have struggled because I didn't really have one until I got my cricket. But yeah, I'm trying to make it my hobby now. It's not working very well, but we're getting there.
So good. Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely going to pick up a hobby as well, so that I don't completely absorb myself in teaching, because I feel like I'd be the type to make it my world. So
yeah,
get that balance going before I get in.
Yeah, it is hard. I've started to learn, like, because right then when I started, that's when my Instagram, I only had 1,000 followers when I started teaching at the beginning of last year. So it grew like insanely quickly. And I got so hung up on that and teaching and all of that, that I just, at the end of the day, I was so tired, you know, and I was just being tired all the time. And that's not what the best for you. It's not the best for your kids at school. So you gotta just make sure you take it back a notch and just know you're just doing the best for yourself.
And I think it's also good to remember that by taking care of yourself, you take care of the kids as well, and because it affects their well-being as well. So one more question on the topic of mental health is empathy. So how do you promote empathy in your classroom?
Well, I was lucky that it's embedded into Year 5 content, so you've got to teach that. So it's really good. My kids responded to it so well. I think there was a massive confusion with like sympathy and empathy, so really breaking that down and the difference between them. But my kids all know now when I say what's empathy, they go, oh, you know, it's like being in the other person's shoes and knowing how they're feeling. So they all know it. I've drilled it into them now, but I feel like it's you can drill and drill and drill it, they might know it, but actually getting them to do it's different. So I always find when I have conflicts in the classroom, or even just small arguments, or someone stole my pencil or something like that, I make sure they remember if they were that person, how would they feel? Just making sure you bring it into practice, because you can talk about it all you want, but until they actually do it, they won't know it. Yeah.
Great. And so obviously we're still in lockdown, and that you were saying earlier that your school is pretty set on going into remote learning.
Yeah.
How do you think that will impact your learning, or what's your experience been so far with remote learning and using online things? I know with year 5s it's probably a bit easier because they know how to use technology, but yeah, what's your experience with it?
Yeah, I'm lucky I'm in an older class. I found it's not too much different to what you do in a normal day. I guess you put out all the work, and then you make some of them team meetings, like Zoom meetings, and then some of them will just be work that they hand in. But I do find it's hard because you can't talk to them, you can't explain things. You either have to make a video, which is hard to do on Zoom. You trying to do it, and you've got to be so explicit so they know what they're doing, otherwise they don't know. But I found it is difficult, but the kids are getting better at it. And we're getting better at it, I guess. I'm lucky that I'm in a year 5 class while all this is happening. I feel bad for those people down in kindy, but yeah, we're all just doing the best we can, I think, with what we've got.
Hopefully it's not too long that we're remote learning. I work in like a kindy class, and I was dreading them going online.
Yeah. I don't think it will be long. I reckon they'll get us back as quick as we can.
Anyway, before we finish up our podcast, we want to do a really quick rapid fire of questions.
Yep.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's go. Favorite year group?
Year 3.
Best place to buy stamps?
Stamper by Miss M.
How many lanyards do you own on an estimate?
I'm just going to show you.
That's a lot.
A lot. Your favorite place to buy teaching clothes?
Maya.
Maya is the best, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you have a house color at school? And if so, what is it?
I'm blue.
Favorite book to read, or like do a character text on or study?
Wonder. I love that book. Yeah.
Is a TPT account essential or non-essential?
Essential to get things, non-essential to put things out.
Where can everyone find you on Instagram?
Teach.With.Heart.
And final question, what's some advice you wish you had heard as a pre-service teacher before starting your career?
Probably 2 main things. Being targeted isn't everything. You'll find your own school and you'll love it wherever you are. You know more than you think you do.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Pre-Service Teacher Pals podcast. You're an amazing teacher and inspiration to us all. We wish you all the best with your year 5 class, and we cannot wait to see the incredible things you'll get up to in the future.
Thank you so much for having me, and anyone from EdSoc's willing to contact me anytime. I always reply to messages, so just shoot me a message on my Instagram. I always reply. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited that you guys are doing this, so well done. You've really taken EdSoc to another level, so thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you, Isabel, so much. If you're still listening, thank you for tuning into our podcast. If you like today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow Isabel on her amazing Instagram, which is Teach.With.Heart, where you'll be inspired, find resources, and be able to follow her journey.
If you have any questions, please comment them down below or DM us on our Instagram at UTS Ed Soc. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.